Step right up, dummies, and listen to the stupidest sports show on earth with Rodney Newpol and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah. Welcome, dummies, to episode number 35 of the stupidest sports show on earth. My name, as you all know, is Tim Big Maple Van Stratton. With me is Rodney Newpol, a certified ball knower, in his mansion, ready to tackle a massive 3-day stretch of football, both in the NFL and college. Rodney, good morning. Happy Friday to you.
Good morning, man. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to roll this weekend. Should be a great weekend of sports and football, as you said. Not tonight. Got to take Friday off, but we'll go doubleheader Saturday, Sunday, and then get the national title on Monday. This is our final show before them, so some of our picks are on the line today. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, next time that we talk to you, we will know the final four teams in the NFL. We will have a national champion in college football. It's going to be exciting. But we're going to cover all of that. We're also going to cover some of the NFL coaching talk. Look at some of the candidates for each team right now. Who are the guys that have the upper hand? It's also, by the way, if you've been following us for the last few weeks at this point, this is episode 35, which means the best 35s in sports. It's funny. I don't know about you, Rodney. I know that we famously don't do a whole lot of pre-show research for 35s. Usually about 55 minutes into the shows where you pull up ranker.com. But my wife was asking me yesterday, who's the best 35? And I was like, there's not a single person that comes to mind immediately for me. Unlike 32 and 34, the last couple, I had those right away. 35, it's I got to think about this. So I'm very interested to hear about what we unveil later. Who we unveil, I should say.
Yeah, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the list today. Some pretty decent names on there, some players. I think you'll be surprised.
I'm going to predict a lot of baseball. I think it's going to be a lot of baseball people today.
I guess we'll find out in about 45 to 50 minutes, huh?
I would assume so. But and by the way, thanks to everyone who's tuning in and watching us this morning. You can continue to do so at Stupid Sports Show, no W, on Twitter. So give us a follow there. All right. Shall we talk NFL coaches real quick before we get into the nitty gritty of the divisional round?
Yeah, let's see what's going on there. I know a lot of so we talked Tuesday about kind of some of the names, but you've probably been on it a little bit more on what's the update on some of these guys. It sounds like Vegas is locked in on Ben, which would then keep him away from the Bears.
It does seem, yeah. So this is what it seems like with the Raiders. It seems like Tom Brady and Mark Davis are doing a full court press right now on Ben Johnson. I think that Tom Brady has a lot of influence in the new coaching hire. It's not a surprise. They know how important it is to get a quarterback by any means necessary, and they want to make sure that whoever they have in charge there can properly develop said quarterback. So, the Raiders have flirted with a couple other people. They've completed interviews with Robert Saleh, Vance Joseph. They have a few other interviews coming up, including with Pete Carroll, Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator. But right now it seems like Ben Johnson is the overwhelming favorite. And it's funny. It's kind of what we were talking about yesterday with what Ben Johnson wants to do. And you predicted that he's going to stay right where he's at in Detroit. The Raiders don't seem to have on paper a really great situation for him. The only benefit is that, okay, Tom Brady's there, and it seems like they have a willingness to make big moves and to swing for the fences, if that makes sense. But it's a really tough division. You don't really have a quarterback right now, unlike you would in Chicago or if you went to Dallas or whoever. So it that could be good, that could be bad as well. But it seems like Ben Johnson's their guy right now.
I mean, Ben Johnson's working with Jared Goff right now. Do you think Ben Johnson thinks, hey, I can go to Vegas and get this done with Kirk Cousins? Mm-hmm. Or I can go to Vegas and get this done with Sam Darnold? Or I can go to Vegas and get this done with a Daniel Jones? I know he's not available right now. He's obviously taken in Minnesota. But I'm wondering if Ben Johnson, because he has had some success here with the Jared Goff type, that he thinks he can go and he can sign his project. I mean, you think that's the thinking with Johnson? Like, I'm coming to Vegas and I'm bringing this guy with me.
Yeah, perhaps. And yeah, that's a good way to look at it too, where there's the element of I get my guy. I want my guy. I don't have to try to come in and make someone work. I mean, that like you can I'll bring up the Giants here as a good example. Like Brian Dable comes in and there's a new regime, and I'm sure it would have been awesome if he was able to come in and sort of pick his own guy right away. But instead it's like, all right, well, we have Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Try to make Daniel Jones work. And 3 years in, it's two of them have been disaster years in large part because of that. So yeah, if Ben Johnson is like, Caleb Williams, pretty cool, but I want a quarterback that I can teach the right way, that plays the exact type of football that I want to. Because like I know that a lot of Bears fans are like, oh, Ben Johnson will be so great for Caleb Williams. You look at what Jared Goff does with the Detroit offense. It's not at all what Caleb Williams is like as a quarterback in Chicago.
No.
Jared Goff it's quick passes, it's the right reads, it's all these things. And Caleb I'm going to try to extend plays. I'm going to try to pull something out of my ass. Like that's not at all how Ben Johnson wants to play offensive football. And Caleb's never been that type of guy. So it's like, I think that there's some validity to let's find a quarterback who plays my type of football.
Yeah, and I don't know Ben Johnson, but I'm guessing at this point he's very confident in what he does works, and the confidence kind of breeds the whole, well, I can do this with my guy, with any, not any, but any guy I pick. If I pick him, my system's going to work. Maybe arrogance and may very well likely fall flat on his face doing that, but that's the way I kind of look at it. In Vegas obviously wants him. It'd be kind of cool to work with Tom Brady, I think. You get the opportunity to be around one of the greatest that's ever done it. So I'm interested to see what happens here.
Also, Raiders are projected to have about $73 million of cap space this offseason, which is a lot. It's a world-class stadium. You have Brock Bowers to work with. You have Max Crosby on the other end. There's no state income tax.
Yep.
Nevada, which I think does matter a bit to some of these guys if they're looking to maximize their paydays. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think that Ben Johnson and the Raiders right now, that would sort of be my lean. Beyond that, though, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the Raiders would go, to be totally honest with you, if it's not him.
Yeah, anybody that hires Ben Johnson, I mean, you're looking at 3+ weeks possible here without a head coach, and I mean, I don't know how much of a hindrance that is. Like, obviously, I know every day you go without a head coach and is a negative, but is it that important right now? I mean, your guys aren't doing anything. I mean, but the Raiders don't have a GM, so like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, like, how big of a deal is it to go 23 more days without a head coach? Does that put you behind anywhere? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that through my head.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, it seems to be that a lot of teams finalize their head coaching decisions before the Super Bowl. Doesn't it feel like that? Yeah. And it is puzzling to me that teams are like, hey, my preferred candidate, the guy that we'd really want to come in here, we're not going to hire him because he's currently coaching on a team that is too successful, that is competing in the Super Bowl. Yeah. So instead, we're going to hire a lesser candidate because we're impatient.
Yeah, right.
And chances are that in 2 to 3 years, they're going to be doing the same thing because they're going to have an opening again because they got a guy who wasn't actually the guy that they wanted in the first place. And it's like waiting those 3 weeks probably like it wouldn't have hurt you. Now, I think that teams are just worried because, well, what happens if they wait and then other teams are waiting and then they wait all that time and then they don't end up getting their guy? That obviously stinks, but I got to say, there's a lot of NFL head coaching candidates. There are a lot of really good qualified guys across the league. I mean, there are 15 to 20 guys that are getting interviewed by the Bears and by the Jets. Like, you got options. If your first one is officially unavailable, like, okay, then you move on. But no point in just jumping the gun because you get impatient.
Right. Todd Monken's getting a lot of love right now too. I don't,
Mhm.
he's an Illinois native, but I don't know a ton about him. I mean, I know he was kind of a journeyman. I don't know if journeyman's the right word, but he's been a lot of places college wise, and now doing great things out in Baltimore. Is he a great fit anywhere? I mean, he's an older guy.
Mhm.
I mean, it's okay to hire an older guy, but like we're seeing a lot of younger guys, a lot of young, hipper guys, maybe in this league. Where's Todd Monken fit in for you as maybe the top choice?
Yeah, so he's interviewed with the Bears. Just assume
Yeah.
if there's anyone that has a
Oh yeah.
pulse, they've done a Bears interview.
Oh yeah.
He's done an interview with Jacksonville,
Okay.
and then I believe the Raiders are the third team. So, I mean, of those three, I would think Jacksonville probably makes the most sense. Um, I don't know. The Jaguars are a weird team to me. Like, it's a weird team to get a read on. Like, do you want someone that comes in and is that fully develops Trevor Lawrence? Do you want someone who is more of a culture guy? I mean, like I've always looked at Doug Peterson as a really competent head coach. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, it's a disaster. And even the last couple of years when things have fallen off for them a little bit, I wasn't like, oh, Doug Peterson is clueless. He's in over his head here. It just was a situation that ultimately ran its course. So I would guess maybe Todd Monken to Jacksonville if you think that he can sort of help get Trevor Lawrence back on track. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough. I personally don't think he'll get hired in this cycle, but
Okay.
he deserves to get consideration.
Yeah. I mean, he's an older guy, so like he's obviously hoping if he wants to be a head coach, like a cycle or two here, and he
Mhm.
needs to get in. I mean, I know he can get it years down the road still, but what is he, 61, 62 years old? Like you're kind of missing your window here, possibly.
Mhm.
You change any thoughts changed on your Bears thoughts with the head coach? I'm
So
still under the Mike McCarthy to the Bears.
yeah, well, if Ben Johnson isn't the guy,
Yeah.
then so right now these are the guys that have currently completed interviews for them. So it's been Anthony Weaver, Drew Petzing, Mike Vrabel, but he's off, Mike Kafka, Pete Carroll, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Ron Rivera, Thomas Brown, the current interim, Mike McCarthy, Arthur Smith, David Shaw. And they still have Brian Flores, Todd Monken, Joe Brady, Matt Campbell, Cliff Kingsbury, Adam Stenovich all left as well. So it's like I don't even know how you could predict out of that group. To me, it feels like Ben Johnson is like I don't know where I saw this, but someone was suggesting that maybe all of these interviews are just sort of buying time in a
Yeah.
way until Ben
Yeah.
Johnson is available
Yeah.
officially. But if the Raiders beat you to it, then at least you have all these fallback guys. But I have no idea where they would possibly go. I think McCarthy certainly makes sense for them. Pete Carroll would be very interesting. Problem is, it
Mhm.
wouldn't be a very long-term thing, considering just that he's well into his 70s at this point. What do you think? Let me ask you this. This is a name that's getting interviews again. What do you think about Brian Flores getting a job this cycle here?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously he's ready. I mean, he's ready to do it. He had a great year. I don't know if he's gonna. I'm kind of on the same page that you were with Monken. I'm not sure he's gonna get one here. I don't think it's gonna be Vegas. It doesn't seem like Jacksonville's kind of where he is targeted. I don't see that in the Bears. I mean, and you didn't mention, and we mentioned this a lot on Tuesday. Marcus Freeman for the
Yeah,
Bears,
well,
like
Marcus Freeman has it. That's been all just speculation at
yeah.
this point. There's been no official interview request for him or anything like that. We're all just kind of like
Well,
assuming that it's going to happen.
let me bring that up. Like, are the Bears doing all these interviews to let Marcus Freeman coach his team and then talk to
Mhm.
him next week? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, Marcus Freeman, both not available yet, but we're going to buy some time. We're going to stall here. But back to Brian Flores, my prediction would be he's not hired in this cycle as well. They want to see maybe another solid season in Minnesota out of him. But he did great things with Minnesota, that's for sure.
Well, what fascinates me about him too is like a couple years ago, when he was fired by the Dolphins.
Yeah.
It didn't really end on the best terms
Nope.
because he just kind of neutered Tua's confidence, right? Then you have the whole thing about the lawsuit that he files against the NFL for improper hiring practices or whatever. Like, so it's 3 years ago, I probably would have said this guy ain't going to be a head coach ever again. And it was
Right.
almost surprising where he would like latched on as an assistant with the Steelers. At
Yeah.
that point, it's like, oh, he was able to get another job. And even though it was like pretty late into the cycle, but to go from suing the league
Yeah.
and to having your quarterback basically like say, and Tua was not like a real outspoken guy, but he made it very obvious that Brian Flores was just not at all a good teacher for him.
Right.
But in less than 3 years' time to go from that to you were really successful with Pittsburgh. Now you go to Minnesota, you led that defense and they had a great year. And now you're getting head coaching interviews with, I think, most of the available teams right now. Like that says a lot too about how the league perception is of him for like to get all of those, interviews and to get consideration again. And it does seem like, at least for a couple of them, that he's a legitimate candidate.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
I can't imagine he's going to be a good fit for a young quarterback situation. Like,
well, that's the thing. It's you're really hoping that everything he did in Miami was a learning process for him and that he's able to change. Now, what he can do is he could help your defense, which the Bears also need. The Bears defense was not good. And he is a guy who in theory is more of a culture hire, right?
Which the Bears
so like Matt Eberflus wasn't a culture guy at all. I don't know what Matt Eberflus is, what he was supposed to do. He was a defensive guy, but he wasn't a culture guy, so he wasn't going to help your quarterback. I don't know what his purpose was. But Brian Flores can at least handle a couple of those things, and then you just have to make sure that there's a good offensive coordinator paired with it. It's not the craziest thing in the world. It's like what Houston has done with DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I mean, my prediction would be he's not quite. They want to see another year out of him, but I mean, he checks all the boxes. Well, checks most of the boxes to be a good head coach. Again, yeah, that whole situation in Miami was weird. It was a strange one, and you're right. At that point, you're like, yep, you're not going to see that guy back in the head coaching role. But here we are.
Yeah,
here we are.
Or even any coach, like
right.
You see the league, man. I don't know if you are going to be working anywhere in the NFL again, but he's made it work. I mean, he's a really good defensive coach. Can he be a good head coach again? We'll see. But all right, Dallas, you officially predicted as of Tuesday night that Deion Sanders will be the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Since then, there have been rumors and all of these nuggets dropped about how if the job was offered to Deion Sanders that he would take the job.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it would be a situation where he would have to have Shedeur with him. The reports are, and again, you take all this stuff with a grain of salt, all these coaching rumors and how so-and-so feels about this and that. Like it's all just conjuncture, but Deion would be open to working with Dak Prescott. So, like, if they hire Deion, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh, they're going to have to trade everything to get Shedeur Sanders. It would be, hey, we have a quarterback in place. He's a pretty good quarterback still when things are going right. Like, I've never thought Dak Prescott is the problem in Dallas.
No.
He's not Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes level, but like you can do a lot worse than Dak Prescott. So to have that in place, it's like Deion's like, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But are you still leaning there? Because right now the only other candidates that I believe they've reportedly are going to interview is Kellen Moore, Robert Saleh, and Leslie Frazier. Like it's not a super overwhelming group of names. Yeah,
I think it is going to be Deion. I do, and I think that Jerry's probably holding this off for more talk about it. The longer he waits, the more talk there is about it. He's had his conversations with Deion. He knows Deion's interested. He's kind of just waiting. Honestly, that's what I feel is that Jerry just wants to kind of be in the news. He wants to see how some of the the other things shake out. Like Deion's not necessarily going any of these other places. So I don't think Jerry's all that concerned about, hey, I'm going to lose Deion to the Jaguars.
No.
I mean, that's not going to happen. So yeah, I do. I strongly think it's going to be Deion Sanders as the head coach. And Deion right now is obviously saying the right things. I'm committed to Colorado, and letting other people say, oh yeah, he would take the Dallas job. But I think he's on his way to Dallas. And I get what you say about not getting his kid, but like, come on.
Yeah, that's why I try to really sort of be like, take these with a grain of salt. Like, what else is he gonna say, right? Like, or what else is gonna come out there? Be like, oh, he's gonna come in and immediately Dak Prescott's gonna get cut. Like, no, you don't say that. Like, Dak Prescott was a year ago signed to this record-breaking deal. Like, he's a good quarterback still. He's better than Shedeur Sanders is right now. I can tell you that much. Like,
yeah, I mean,
better.
Yeah. I would be very surprised. I would be very surprised if, first of all, I won't be surprised when Deion takes this job. I truly think this is going to happen. I'll be really surprised if they don't make an effort at going to get Shedeur. I mean, they just say, okay, yeah, we're moving on. Dak's our guy. We're going to the draft. Shadeur's going to get drafted ahead of him. I'd be shocked though. Deion wants to coach in the NFL with his son. And then why wouldn't he get Shiloh then after that? But NFL locker rooms aren't going to like this stuff.
No, like that's the thing too. And that's what I keep going back to with Deion. Like, this is so unprecedented to have just a guy come in and then draft his son, and you get rid of like the franchise quarterback and replace him with a rookie who's the coach's son. Like, it's not a really good look. And like, if it doesn't work immediately, shit's going to get bad real fast.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because we know Deion can't ignore it. He can't ignore the talk. He can't ignore the negativity. Jerry will not make it any better for him because he's going to talk. While I think Deion's going to Dallas, I can't say I think this is going to work. I mean, Dallas has been a little bit of a shit show here. I mean, for quite a while. I mean, and they've had some decent years. Mike McCarthy had them steady for a while, but like, I don't like the thought here. But I'm interested because I like the drama that we're going to be. I mean, it's going to help us talk. I mean, we're going to have plenty of talk here on the Stupidest Sports Show about this. I just don't like. I don't think this is going to work.
I don't know if I want to become just another show that talks Cowboys, though. I'd almost rather ignore them because we know that First Take and all those shows on ESPN are going to have Cowboy stuff covered. I mean, my God, man, can you imagine? Every single segment is just going to be Cowboys.
Yeah. Stephen A is going to laugh at them. Skip Bayless is going to talk about them. Yeah, you're right. But that's what Jerry wants. That's why he's going to hire. That's why he's going to hire Deion. Do you think Jerry cares about winning another Super Bowl? I don't know if he does.
I think he would like to. I don't know if it's something that like, oh, it keeps them up at night because they can't win. I think that they had plenty of winning and success. I think that he's done his job as an owner to make that team as valuable as he possibly can, as the number one most valued franchise in North America. He gets headlines, he gets attention. He's done his job. Like, say what you want about him, but he's succeeded.
Yeah.
And it just feels like it now because it's been such a long time since they've won. But like, by the time his time is done there, like, you're gonna remember him as a winner.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting paid. That's the biggest thing. Like, he's getting his money. So yeah, I do still think Deion's going to Dallas.
Something else, real quick before we get off Dallas here. So like the Shedeur thing too is super fascinating. That let's say Deion goes to Dallas, they would obviously be interested in Shedeur. So the Raiders right now are picking 6th overall, and all throughout the fall, it seemed like the Raiders were the one team that made the most sense as far as like, you get Deion, you get Shedeur, right? It's fascinating to me that the Raiders have had this job opening and there's been no buzz at all with Deion Sanders going there. In fact, I think the rumors were saying that the Raiders were not interested in him.
Not interested.
So I would think then, just putting the pieces together, that if the Raiders are not interested at all in Deion, that means they're not interested at all in Shedeur. Is that fair to say? I mean, maybe maybe that's an overreach a little bit, but you have an opening at head coach. You need a quarterback. You're picking high enough to where you can either draft one at 6 or move up a few spots in order to get him. I think moving second overall with Cleveland and swapping with them makes a lot of sense. But if they're not even considering Dion, maybe they don't even care that much about Shador in the first place.
Or the opposite, they really, really want Shador and they don't want his dad around. But I don't. That's kind of a backwards way of going about it. Possibly, you could at least pretend to flirt with Dion, to flatter him a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and hire somebody else and still draft his son. I mean, that would be my other line and thinking is they don't want the drama that Dallas may be getting with the father son combination, because
it is drama. Yeah.
It's drama, and it's not set up to end well. Like, Shadur's good, and Dion obviously is a leader of men, but in the National Football League, I just don't see this working. Dudes are just not going to put up with it, and maybe Vegas is smart all along here, and maybe Vegas says, you know what, Ben Johnson is head and shoulders a better football coach, and this is our guy. Tom Brady's going to want a guy that can mold a quarterback, and that's probably Ben Johnson. I mean, that's Ben Johnson. That's Ben Johnson over Shedeur Sanders. I mean, what Shedeur obviously has a good son as a quarterback, but like, can he mold other quarterbacks? That's what we're going to find out here with his coaching future going forward.
All right, there's two other teams that we haven't really talked about yet. New Orleans Saints, which that feels like the most boring hire of all of them.
Yeah.
They fired Dennis Allen real early after losing 7 straight. They were, I think, 3-4 with the interim at the helms, but Darren Rizzi or whatever his name is not going to be the head coach there. So I mentioned on Tuesday that I think that there's only 2 guys. It's going to be Aaron Glenn or it's going to be Mike McCarthy. That's it.
Yeah, I'll throw this one completely out of a hat here. I mentioned it on Tuesday. So Ohio State Monday night wins the national championship in New Orleans, and before they even get on the charter, hey Chip, hey Ryan, whoop, and they keep them hostage. And Chip Kelly and Ryan Day are the new. Ryan Day's the head coach. Chip Kelly's the offensive coordinator.
Try to make Ryan Day happen.
Hey, I mean, you never know. But this is a boring one, and we're just not hearing anything about it. But that's okay. The Saints don't need to be talking about their head coach. I mean, they just need to go hire a good head coach. But why not? Why not Ryan Day and Chip Kelly? Why not?
Why Ryan Day and Chip Kelly?
I mean, they've
over like Aaron Glenn over Mike McCarthy.
Because it's a fun story. I mean, they're in New Orleans.
That's the answer.
That's a stupid answer. That's the stupidest sports show. But I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool. Monday night after Ohio State wins the championship, Saints executives are there and they just pull them aside. Hey, we'd like to offer you the job at the New Orleans Saints. And by Tuesday morning, instead of celebrating with the Buckeyes no longer have a head coach or an offensive coordinator to celebrate. And they're in New Orleans. Hey, why not, right?
Short drive from where's the national championship? Is it Atlanta?
New Orleans.
Oh, it is New Orleans. So New Orleans got the national.
No, it's not. That's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So this is the stupidest sports show. Just pull them aside. I don't know. I would have been cooler if it was in New Orleans. That's where my head was going there.
It's their fault for not putting it in New Orleans to make your point stronger.
Right. That's correct.
Good. Okay, and I know we've made a lot of fun about the Bears and all the candidates they've interviewed. Do we realize that the Jets have interviewed the same amount of candidates, and also some of those candidates have included guys like Rex Ryan?
Yeah, which you mentioned Rex
Smith.
Ryan is told no. Poor guy.
Yes. Yeah, and Arthur Smith.
Yeah. I mean, what are we doing here? Why are they doing it for optics? Are they doing it because they want their fan base? They want people to know we're doing the best we can to find the best possible option. Just go narrow it down to 3 dudes, 5 dudes that are going to do a good job, or are going to be at least appreciated. the names out there. Just to interview those guys, because that's who everybody thinks you should be hiring and get it done. Like, you're not going to hire Rex Ryan. You're not going to hire Arthur Smith. Yeah. I don't know who the Jets are going to hire.
What makes it interesting with them is that they also need a GM. Same with the Raiders, I guess, but I don't know. The Raiders, it feels like just with Brady and stuff there. But what the Jets have done is they brought in their former general manager, Mike Tannenbaum, and Vikings former GM, Rick Spielman. Both guys who I think had pretty like up and down tenures when they were National Football League GMs. And they are assisting with the dual general manager and coaching searches. So it's like two guys who kind of struck out a lot are going to be leading the charge here, which is why there's so many candidates for head coach and why there's all of these guys for GM as well. And it's like, so the GM that gets hired isn't necessarily going to have the coach that he wants, and vice versa. So it's just, it's such a mess. I don't know why they didn't just like try to get GM figured out as soon as possible. And then you have that GM sort of lead the charge for head coach. It feels so weird. It feels so disjointed. And then like you have this strange list that ranges from Rex Ryan and Ron Rivera to you have like Mike Loxley, the Maryland head coach. Yeah. Why is Mike Loxley getting an NFL head coaching interview?
Yeah.
Like I don't understand it at all. And then you also have the offensive coordinators, and even like Brian Greasy is the quarterback's coach in San Francisco. Like Brian Greasy's not going to get a job, man. Like what are we doing here? So it's just the whole, that one to me, as much as we make fun of the Bears, I think the Jets one is just like the most ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I was the Jets, I probably would have tried to get this done before this, because like, you knew you needed a head coach, and like, why are you fighting with these other organizations? You get your guy, get it done, and get out of the drama of this, because like, okay, now you're gonna maybe pick your one, and he may go somewhere else. So yeah, Jets. But are we surprised the Jets are gonna botch this? I'm
no. I mean, they fired Sala in what, October?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Bears. Like, why didn't the Bears do some legwork ahead of time? Or I'm sure they did some, but why did it take so long for the Bears to? Why are they still interviewing guys? I mean, Thomas Brown's been the intern for 6 to 8 weeks now. Did you ever think you were going to hire Thomas Brown? Like, I don't think anybody ever thought Thomas Brown was going to be head coach. So
I thought so. I thought so at first. I said so at first because he was going to win meaningless games and they were going to just give him the job. But he was, fortunately for them, I think he was awful.
He beat the Packers, though.
He did beat the Packers and tanked the Packers season. So, I mean, that's huge. That gets respect.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Tip of the cap. All right. Any final NFL coaching thoughts, takes before we get to the teams that are actually playing this week?
No, I mean, I think it's interesting to see, and I'm guessing we're going to hear a hiring probably early next week on one of these teams, I would guess.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patriots, for once again just totally ignoring the actual hiring practices in the NFL for the second straight year and just getting it done with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, right. We did this once before. We're gonna do it again. Here we are. They didn't interview anybody else, did they?
They did. They interviewed Ben Johnson and a couple other people here. Let me see. Yeah, they ended up with it was Ben Johnson, Vrabel, obviously, Byron Leftwich, and Pep Hamilton. And then I think they were going to interview Aaron Glenn, but they were just like, screw it. And then they just hired Vrabel. Like
because Leftwich did the Rooney Rule. I mean, that was that,
and so did Pep. Yeah.
So there's a requirement. It's like, okay, you come here.
I believe when they posted, because you know how the NFL teams, they always like tweet out or report, we have completed an interview with so and so. They did both of them at the same time, so they had a graphic with both of them where it's like, we have done Pep Hamilton and Byron Leftwich. I was like, look at it. They're two. We're so good at following the rules. It just was hilarious. It's
they literally just found two guys. We're like, okay, come here. We're gonna hire. We're gonna hire Vrabel anyway.
After literally not hire or interviewing a single person last year because they already had Gerard Mayo as the coach in waiting, and he already met the Rooney Rule. So we're just like, okay, yeah, there you go. Like, it's 2 years in a row that they just don't give a shit about the rules.
Yeah, that's Patriots for you.
All right. Divisional round. We kind of gave our leans on Tuesday. Now it's time for official predictions. We'll start with Texans Chiefs. Last time these teams played, just a few weeks ago, so it feels very recent. Houston sort of held their own a little bit in the first half, but then Kansas City did what Kansas City always does, and defense came to play. Mahomes made plays, and they won. I want to say it was by at least 10, right? Like it was. Was it by double digits? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was right before Christmas. It was 27-19 Kansas City. So it was an 8-point win. That's where the spread's at right now, right around 8.
8.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 8.5. So it opened at 7.5. Now at 8.5. Are you still thinking Houston plus 8.5? I don't think. Neither of us think Houston's going to go to Kansas City and win this game.
Correct.
But to cover, and I'm curious to hear sort of your rationale there with Houston, because I'm really sort of on the fence with this one.
Yeah, I'm taking Houston to cover those points in a divisional round game. Kansas City hasn't had meaningful football in 3 weeks or so. I do think they could start slow. We could see Houston get ahead. Maybe it's a 10-7 halftime game. It's a 10-10 type halftime game. I don't think Kansas City is that explosion offense right now where they're going to score 4 touchdowns in the second half. I think we're going to end up seeing a 24-17 type game. And Houston is going to have a chance to compete and stay within that one score. So I do like Houston on the spread at +8. But most of the country's kind of been waiting for the Kansas City fall apart all year, kind of betting against them. I'm one of the worst bettors on Kansas City of all time. I'm just telling you that right now. If I bet Kansas City, Mahomes kneels at the 1, and if I don't bet Kansas City, he runs that in. So I am going to take Houston +8. I will stick with Kansas City winning the game, though.
What's funny about Kansas City is, and I'm sure that you've been aware of this, just as someone who bets on them and loses on them, that despite their 15-2 record this year, they are 7-10 against the spread.
Yeah. Yeah, not good. They simply don't care. Patrick Mahomes does not care about your spread. He does not care. He wants to win the game.
No. Ironically, though, there's only one other playoff team that has a losing record against the spread, and it happens to be the Texans at 8-10.
Okay.
So, we'll see how that goes. The thing to me is Houston is going to have to get that defense to make life a little uncomfortable for Kansas City's offense. I totally agree with you. The Chiefs just do not have that team right now that is just going to throw 45 points on you like Detroit can. It's just not how they're built. Their defense, and they're going to be totally fine with beating you 24-14, and they're totally good with that. But the last time they played, they got 1 sack on Patrick Mahomes, even though Houston was top 5 pass rush team in the NFL this year in terms of sacks. So just got to beat the line. You got to put some pressure on. You got that's the only way you're going to do it. It's the same thing like with the Patriots when they were in their prime with Brady. It's the only way you could beat them is you got to throw pressure at them. And Mahomes can move a little bit, which makes him more dangerous. But you make him move around, you make him throw, you make him uncomfortable. But yeah, if this game, as of right now, I think that I would probably lean Kansas City, but by 9 points. It's just going to be right at that 8.5. It's not going to be anything crazy. So, which says to me, stay away from it. I'm not.
Yeah, but I'm a degenerate. I can't stay away from it. But I think Houston, and obviously the hope for Houston is they can carry over from what happened last week. Now, Justin Herbert's a different quarterback than Patrick Mahomes, but you carry over some of that momentum defensively. Hey, you're getting some turnovers. You can get Patrick Mahomes to turn the ball over a little bit. Obviously, a turnover here and there, one in each half, and this game's going to look different. So I'll stick with Houston as a cover and take Kansas City to win the game straight up.
Commanders Lions. It is the highest scoring projected game of the week. So have we had a game this year, Rodney, with a total of 55.5 points?
I don't remember seeing one. That's a lot of points.
It's a lot. And it's gone up because it opened at 54.5 and it's actually gone up to 55.5, and it's that across the board here. It is. That's a lot of points. But that said, I think an over is very doable.
It is, but like if you're Washington, and I think we found that Dan Quinn is a fairly intelligent football coach.
He is. No, he is.
What they did against Tampa is they controlled the football a little bit. They were okay with 4 yards to Zach Ertz, 3 yards to Brian Robinson, and 3 more to Austin Eckler, and we're moving the chains and we're running the clock down to 5 on the play clock, and we're going to have an 8-minute possession. Like, I would probably take the under because I at 55.5 seems like 28-27 is an under. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's a lot of points. 31-24 is an under. Do we think Jaden Daniels is going to get 4 scores? Maybe. Or do we think Detroit's going to get 6 and that's what's going to happen? Like, I don't know. Like, they can run the football. You know, I'm wondering, you know, David Montgomery's coming back, but how effective will he be? Probably really effective, but how effective will he be? I mean, we saw Jahmyr Gibbs have a ton of success. So now we're kind of going away a little bit from Jahmyr Gibbs and back to David Montgomery. Like, I don't know. I don't feel super comfortable there. I actually like the under. I do. If I see that many points, I'm going to take my chances that they're going to stay under that. Limit the big plays and stay under it.
It's the highest over-under in a playoff game since Super Bowl 55 with the Bucks and Chiefs. That came with 56, and I believe that one was what? It was 31-9.
Yeah.
So way under. Way under there. Now, totally different circumstances, but still. To me, my hesitation with the under, though, is that, like, what's the fewest amount of points that you could realistically see the Lions scoring? Because to me, I do not see how the Lions score below 30.
Yeah.
So really, then it just comes down to what Detroit is going to do. Because, you know, 34-24, you get your over.
You do. But can Washington get to 24? That's a great question. I mean, so Detroit in their last 5 games, 34, 42, 34, 40, and 31. They're getting there. They've been getting there. Now, the last time they didn't get there was that Thanksgiving game, 23. But, like, that also makes me wonder, like, are they due to maybe only get to 28? And if they get to 28, that's not going over unless Washington wins. I don't know, man.
Maybe against a better team, like in the next round, perhaps they don't get to that, you know, mid-30s, but against Washington, I just don't know if Washington has the defense to be able to keep it. Like, it has to be one of those. It's like the game that Detroit had against Houston on Sunday night where Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. Like, it's got to be one of those types of games from him in order for Detroit to really have to scrape for every point that they can get.
Yeah, I mean, Washington's only giving up 20 points a game. Now, I know we have a perception, and they're not great. I get it. But we have a perception that Washington defense isn't real good. Well, 20 points a game isn't all that bad. No. But, I mean, keep in mind that Washington's played a pretty soft schedule here the last 6 weeks outside of their win over Tampa. I mean, they gave up 19 to a beat-up Cowboys team. They did give up 33 to Eagles. So, yeah, they are willing to give up points. I'm probably going to stick with under here and say, okay, offense, beat me. And I personally, as a bettor, I would rather lose with them going over because the game went exciting. I'm going to take the under. I know unders are boring, but I'm going to take the under and say, let's hope that the game ends up at 28-27, a good game, and it doesn't quite get over. So, and I'm also going to take Washington to cover this.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. It's 9.5 right now.
Yeah, I think they can cover almost over 2 scores here, a touchdown and a field goal. They can cover that. They can get it within a touchdown. I'll go along the lines of a 28-24 type game. Detroit wins, but Washington covers. So I'm taking both underdogs to cover on Saturday.
It's 8.5 on DraftKings and FanDuel. If it was 8.5, would you go Detroit or would you still go Washington there?
I think I'm still going Washington. 8.5. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's going to be around a touchdown to even less of a game. I think Washington does stick in it. Yeah, I would take Washington. All
right. Here we go. This is the fun one here. Rams Eagles. They're all fun. Who are we kidding? But Rams Eagles Sunday. Right now It is 6.5 points, 6.5, kind of just depending on where you are. But Philadelphia is obviously the favorite. In week 12, these teams played. The Rams defense gave up 314 total rushing yards, including 255 to Saquon Barkley. So it was a full-on assault in the running game. I'm going to assume that Philadelphia will have the same game plan on Sunday. Maybe that. I mean, if that's the case, I can't see how Philadelphia loses then if they're able to have the same type of success on the ground. But we've said for weeks now, there's a team in the NFC that can really make things interesting, that we like to coach. We just think that they can compete, and it's the Rams. So where are your thoughts right now going into this one?
I think it's really hard to assume that Saquon Barkley and the Eagles are going to be that successful again. Like, this is a playoff game. Like, McVay and his staff are throwing everything they can to, and you got to make sure Jalen Hurts beats you with his arm.
Yeah,
Sean McVay knows that. I'm going strictly coaching wise here and taking the Rams plus 6.5, and the Eagles are my Super Bowl pick. I think the Eagles can sneak this out. Yeah, I think they can find a way, a 24-20, 24-21, 27-24 type game. So my 3 games here, I've taken all underdogs to cover, but all home teams to win. A little bit scary, and I'm banking on competitive games, and I mean, we haven't seen a ton of those here. So I do think the Rams in their game plan will be much better, much different, and they'll be able to stop the run a little bit more. But Eagles win the game straight up.
How do you feel about this betting nugget here? Under Sean McVay, so since 2018, the Rams are 4-1 against the spread and 3-2 straight up in road playoff games. Not just that, but they've averaged 25.5 points per game in those road playoff games.
Yeah, Stafford's slinging it. And he's probably going to have to. I mean, Kyron Williams is actually a little bit banged up. I actually don't even know where they go without, because Blake Corum's not available. Was it Ronnie Rivers? I believe would be their guy if Kyron got banged up even more. I mean, I think Kyron's going, but he's banged up. I don't think there's any doubt that he's banged up at this point. So, yeah, I mean, to the point, they obviously know how to cover. They know how to play well on the road in the playoffs, and they're going to have to sling it. I mean, you may have to see Cooper Kupp be good again. And I'm not saying he's been bad. He just has been kind of irrelevant over the last couple of weeks, and I think he's going to need to be there. I think DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Tyler, it's Higbee. Higbee should be able to play in this one, right? I mean, I know he got banged up as well. They're going to find guys. I love that stat because that shows me Sean McVay knows what he's doing.
So official pick is Rams cover.
Yep.
Eagles win.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm leaning as well. I don't want it to happen. God, I love the Rams to just end their season. Holy
you would like that. You would like that. But my Super Bowl pick, I'm going to stick with it. Eagles, Bills. So this tells you what I'm doing on the last one. This is a great game. Ravens, Bills, and it saved the best for last. And great game. And you talked about in the last one how Saquon ran wild on the Rams. Well, Derrick Henry absolutely demolished the Bills in their first meeting. I remember that game well because I had a Derrick Henry first touchdown I had a lot on Derrick Henry in that game, and he ran that 80-yarder right at the start of the game. And it's like, okay, Buffalo's not going to let that happen again. I mean, Derrick Henry's going to be good. Obviously, he is good. At home, I'm going to take Buffalo to win this game, so I'm going to take them against the spread. Just Josh Allen. And this is nothing against Lamar. And I've raved all year about Lamar going left and Derrick Henry going right, and how do you stop it? I think it comes down to Josh Allen refusing to lose at home in the playoffs. And that's just where I'm at. I mean, I could be dead wrong on this because I literally could go either way here, but I'm going to side with the home team, and I'm going to side with Josh Allen, who I would pick as the MVP this year.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, all the numbers would say Lamar Jackson, but just I don't know. It's one of those things where it just goes beyond the numbers in terms of who deserves the MVP. I feel like things unravel way quicker for Buffalo without Josh Allen than they do for Baltimore without Lamar Jackson. And
Yeah, I
that's
do too.
that
I do
matters.
too. I don't think Buffalo. I don't know as if Buffalo's even. They're not a contender, and I'm not sure they're even a playoff team without Josh Allen. I mean, Mitch Trubisky's
Mhm.
probably not getting it done. And we could say the same thing about Baltimore probably, but you're right. I just think the unraveling of in Buffalo would be epic. And is it because we're fatigued with Lamar Jackson and him winning? Maybe, but I just feel like it's Josh Allen's year. It's Josh
Mhm.
Allen's ability to win this, and I'm taking Josh Allen and the Bills for that reason. I'm not even necessarily looking at much else on this game. I'm taking Josh Allen at home and his refusal to lose at home.
By the way, we've talked, or maybe I've just talked, mentioning how Baltimore has just sort of struggled in the playoffs, or how Lamar Jackson has, hit the numbers of regular season versus playoffs have fallen off a bit. It doesn't feel like we're talking enough about the fact that Buffalo hasn't been in an AFC Championship game since the 2020 season.
Yeah, I mean, both teams have demons here,
Yeah.
playoff demons coming in, and then we're going to find out what Kansas City does first, and then they're both going to be staring down a great big demon when they win this Sunday night game. Like all week is going to be can you get past Patrick Mahomes, because neither one of them have. Lamar hasn't. Josh Allen hasn't really. I mean, as you said the other day, the only guy that really has is Joe Burrow once. So yeah, and that's going to be the talk all next week. If Kansas City wins, no matter who they play, can Allen beat Mahomes? Can Lamar beat Holmes? And I don't think either one are looking past this game because they know this is a massive game. It should be a great game. What is it? 5:00 Central Time?
Yes,
Something
it
like that.
is
5:30 somewhere.
5:30. Yeah,
Yeah,
5:30.
great. And I love that. Like that's great time. I think you're done by 8:30, so we're not up super late. It's not a Sunday night game, so people, this is going to get so many eyeballs.
Oh yeah.
The ratings of this Ravens, CBS is going to have it. Is it who's doing the game? Nance? No, Nance.
It's gonna be Nance and Romo. Yeah.
Nance and Romo. High mark. It's going to be negative temperatures. This is epic NFL right here.
Yeah. Yeah. You have Texans Chiefs. That's going to be like the ESPN/ABC. Commanders Lions, I think, is your NBC Sunday or Saturday night. Rams Eagles is your Fox, and then Ravens Bills is the CBS game. So
yeah,
should be good.
Yeah, it'd be a great weekend of football.
I will stick with it because I said I guaranteed weeks ago that the Final Four you would have the Lions and Eagles, and you would have the Chiefs and the Bills. So I got to stick with it. I got to go Buffalo here. I'm rooting for Buffalo. But I'm hoping that the game delivers on it. Yeah. Like if we get another blowout, then I'm going to be upset.
Yeah, same.
We deserve better. All right. So yeah. So I'm sticking with that Final Four. It sounds like you're sticking with that Final Four. But 4 underdogs to cover. Buffalo
That's scary,
winning
huh?
Straight up.
Scary. Don't love the sound of that, and obviously know that I'm in for I could be in for a tough weekend. But yes, I'm gonna. That's where I'm going. Yes.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, just lose them all.
Lose all the money. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I don't know if we have much time for a breakdown so much as just like some final thoughts and getting into our official predictions here. But Monday night, either Ryan Day or Marcus Freeman will be a national champion.
Yep.
The lean right now. So the betting odds definitely favor Ohio State here. And it was a larger spread than I had initially thought that it was going to be. But it's 8.5 right now in favor of the Buckeyes. It feels like a lot, but also I don't know if Notre Dame has sort of the offense to be able to just like go toe to toe with Ohio State personally. Like I really like the Buckeyes on Monday.
Yeah, I mean Ohio State in their wins have been covering pretty well. I mean, beat Texas by 14, beat Oregon by 20, beat Tennessee by 25. Obviously, they lost to Michigan, but even before that, They went and beat Indiana by 23. So this Ohio State team is not a team that will just sneak by. And even we saw it last week, like it was 7, but then the defense got a score and extended it to 14. I could see a situation like that here too, where, Notre Dame is 7 points down, maybe even 10 points down, chance to cover, chance to score, and Ohio State gets a big turnover. I will take Ohio State in this one at -8.5. I'm big on them winning the game. I've talked to you. I've been a survivor all season long. It's kind of crazy because I've picked a winner each week, but Ohio State's my team here. I was able to keep them all year, not use them, and I have them available. So Ohio State's my pick, both against the spread and straight up. Great season in Notre Dame, and love their win last week. I just think Ohio State's too much. I'll go something like 31-20, 34-20, something like that. I think Ohio State kind of wins, and the final few minutes are anticlimactic as the Buckeyes win it all. And then Ryan Day and Chip Kelly go to the Saints.
Because we learned that the Jaguars one would be kind of awkward.
Yes, awkward. Oh, yeah. That would be awkward for Ryan and Chip. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in lockstep with you right now. Like Notre Dame's style is just like gritty, hard nosed. They just want to pound the football. But that's going to play right into Ohio State. Like their defense has been one of the best in the nation. They're giving up less than 90 rushing yards per game. So like what Notre Dame was able to do against Penn State, I don't think they're going to be able to do it all against Ohio State. It's going to force Riley Leonard to have to make things happen with his arm. And I don't see how they have a ton of success there. So yeah, I think Ohio State's in a good spot here. What's interesting though, is that if Ohio State wins, it would be right away a team that would not have made the 6-team college football playoff, now making it into, or what was it? 4 teams, right?
4 teams. Yeah.
It's 4 teams. Yeah. So they would have, but that loss to Michigan would have cost them a spot. And now, thanks to the 12-team expansion, they made the playoffs. And Notre Dame also wouldn't have made it.
I mean, maybe they lost it so early. We saw that these teams losing early because you wouldn't.
So a little bit closer for Notre Dame. Yeah, and I forgot that they had to adjust the seeds because of Boise State had to get one of the seeds and Arizona State had to get one of the top 4. So it's a little bit out of whack, but certainly Ohio State wouldn't have been a playoff team last year with the season that they had. But now they are big favorites in the national championship, and they would win as the 8th seed.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how it worked. Like early season losses, you had a chance to recover. But yes, the Ohio State loss there to end the year would have been automatic. You're not making it, and then and that's why I feel like we have a better system. Can the system be fixed from what we saw? Yeah, and I think it will be. And then we'll have other complaints and other things that need to be fixed. But 12 teams is a better. And obviously, we've seen the eyeballs and the interest in this college football playoff has been pretty high. And it gives us opportunities to kind of look at various college games as opposed to you've got the national title or you've got the Final Four, you got just the 3 games. Now you had a whole bunch of games, and I thought it went pretty well this year. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it would have been nice if some of the games in the earlier, first couple rounds were a little bit more competitive. I think we had that Texas-Arizona State game that was by far and away the most exciting, and everything else kind of fell flat. But we had a good semifinals, and I think that they could probably get away with doing some tweaking in terms of how the seeding works, where I know Skeeter and I have talked about this too, and he suggested, the team taking Arizona State or Boise State, that they don't necessarily get a first-round bye, but maybe instead they play in the first round, but they get a home game there. They're one of those 5 to 8 seeds. And then it's also the school gets that extra home game, and that's a big thing. But because no one would say watching Arizona State this year, oh yeah, that's one of the 4 best teams in college football. So why would they get a top 4 seed? But you can reward them for winning their conference with a home game in the first round. And it probably makes the second round games a lot more competitive as well. Because as we saw, that first round bye and the teams getting those buys, they were overmatched.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job of kind of scheduling it because they scheduled it around holidays where we're not first of all, we're not going to battle against the NFL. We're going to be we'll play before and after the NFL. When it gave us a lot of really good football over the holidays, right before Christmas, right after Christmas, New Year's. I just thought it fit pretty well, and I hope they can continue that. Just tweak the seedings, and we'll see what happens. You're froze. I don't see anything.
Sorry, I lost you there.
No.
Can
Yeah.
you hear me now?
No. Yeah, no, you were froze as well. But yeah, I kind of mentioned it with like I thought they fit the schedule in well, and just tweak it a little bit, and we'll move on to next year and hope it works out well again.
All right, so let's wrap things up with the best 35s in sports in honor of episode number 35 of the Stupidest Sports Show. I mentioned at the beginning that this was a number where there wasn't anyone that immediately came to mind the same way that like 32 Magic Johnson does, right? But as the show has gone on, a couple guys have sort of popped into my head a little bit, and I'm sure that you had some guys as well who came up for you. So the best 35s in sports. Who was the first person that came to mind for you when you think about number 35?
Kevin Durant.
Yeah, that was one of mine. That just like I was like, oh, duh.
Yeah, Kevin Durant. Yeah, that's what when you mentioned at the start of the show, you wouldn't think of one. I was like, yeah, I think you're going to remember this one. I think you also mentioned it's going to be a baseball. It's going to be a baseball day.
There's a couple baseball guys. Yeah.
Yeah, you got one in mind that you're thinking of?
The first one for me was Frank Thomas.
Yeah. Also, one that I was thinking of was Ricky Henderson. Back in the day, neither one of us would have seen him play, but Yogi Berra was 35.
Was he?
He was 35. Big Justin Verlander was 35.
Justin Verlander's a good one. Yeah.
Is 35, whatever. Hockey.
What?
Let's go hockey one here. Tony Esposito, 35.
That's a good one. All right, hold on. I'm gonna push back on Ricky Henderson here because I'm seeing number 24 and all the photos of him with the A's, and I'm seeing it looked like he was 35 maybe when he first came up, like because he had a few different ones, but I think he's most famously associated with the number 24.
You're right. 34 is a big number for him. Yeah, I think
24
or 24. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, so he can be in the honorable mentions for 35.
Is this a ranker.com poll?
It may be.
Son of a bitch, man. What do we say about this? This site has no idea what it's talking about.
Mike Mussina.
Yeah.
35. Yeah. So baseball, you were right there. Phil Niekro, another baseball guy, 35. So it does kind of seem like 35 is more of a baseball number. It's not a great football number, is it?
Also, Yogi Berra was number 8.
Yogi Berra started at 35, though, too.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are talking about what they started with, apparently.
Yeah, I don't care what they started with, man. His 35 isn't retired at Yankee Stadium. It's number 8.
He was 35 for a while, though.
Oh, God.
I mean, I see pictures of him wearing 35 here as well, though.
All right. I think Kevin Durant, and the reason probably why Kevin Durant didn't immediately come to mind for me is because he had that stint in Brooklyn where he was number 7.
Yeah.
And it just changed a little bit. But yeah, I would say Durant, Frank Thomas, Justin Verlander, for me, are the ones that are like, these are athletes. These are Hall of Fame athletes that wore number 35 in their prime that are associated most with number 35. And yeah, Mike Mussina can be there. Phil Niekro can be there. But I'm not going to say Yogi Berra. I'm not going to say Ricky Henderson. I'm going to push back.
I find it interesting. I mentioned that it wasn't really much of an NFL day. But a couple guys that were 35 in the NFL that we don't remember their playing time. I believe when Mike Tomlin played, he was 35.
Mike Tomlin played?
I believe.
Huh.
I'm going to take a look at that, but yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. I'm not going to do all the research now, but I believe he was a 35. Anyways, that's your number 35 for the day. Do you see anything on that real quick?
No, I was just looking up NFL players that wore number 35, and it's not a lot of really not a ton of great ones, especially like who are playing now.
Yeah. So there you go. 36 would be really difficult.
Yeah, 36. I bet you'll find a couple NFL running backs maybe that rock 36.
Yeah.
Don't want to give away too much right now, but yeah, 36. Celtics Shaq, I think, was 36.
see that's worse than Yogi Berra.
But I prefaced it by saying Celtics Shaq. I did not say Shaquille O'Neal famously wore number 36 because he didn't.
I mean, Yogi Berra did wear 35.
Oh, name me one Yankee fan that associates the number 35 with Yogi Berra, please.
Yeah, no, I get you. You. Yogi Berra from St. Louis, though, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Was born in the Hill in St. Louis.
Is he in the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame?
I would guess. I'll do my research on that.
Good. Famous St. Louis athlete, Yogi Berra. Number 35, of course, we all know.
Well, they claimed, they started to claim Bob Uecker the other day because he played for the Cardinals.
Yeah? No, they could, though. Like, they could.
Yeah.
He was a World Series champion with the Cardinals.
I mean, Bob Uecker is a Brewer.
Yes, Milwaukee. He is Milwaukee. It was the Braves before, and then the Brewer. Like, he was the first Milwaukee-born player to ever play for the Milwaukee Braves.
Yeah. He's Milwaukee.
So, like,
he's not St. Louis.
He's Milwaukee. Oh, and Cleveland because of Major League.
Correct. Yeah.
So there we go. Rest in peace, Bob Uecker. By the way, I spent like a good hour yesterday just watching old clips of him, just his Johnny Carson appearances and just his commercials and things like that. Man, we don't make him like we used to.
Nope. Good dude, and was good at what he did.
Yes, absolutely. 90 years old. Great life. We'll miss you. All right. Well, that does it for the 35th episode of the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. We'll be back Tuesday to recap everything that happened in the NFL and college football. A reminder, as Rodney just put up on the screen, you can follow us at Stupid Sports Show on Twitter, not X. There's no W at the end.
And there's no funky link to our Substack either.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
I don't see it on here anymore. Yeah. Oh, there it is. We still have it.
Yeah. Rodney is doing a great job putting together. You throw in like a dozen picks out there every night, man. You are cranking them out, like no explanation, just burping out winners. I love it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know how I did yesterday. I haven't looked yet.
Well, I know a couple nights ago when you had Bradley against Indiana State, that was a winner.
And I said in a blowout and by double digits. They got it.
Oh, it was double digits, all right, partner.
I even had Kaboom as the picture of our Substack. He was the title. Kaboom was the guy that day. Yes,
I knew
Bradley Braves.
I knew that you were always a fan. You always had a quiet respect for the Bradley Braves program, and I appreciate that.
I mean, when Bradley's good, Peoria's better. Period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also, so yes, make sure to sign up for the Stupid Sports Show on Substack. Rodney's sending out picks every single day for free. So you can get his official picks there. And also, in case you want to listen to any of our ramblings, any of our previous 34 shows before today, you can find them all on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get out of here. So we got busy Fridays. We got weekends to conquer.
Sounds good.
Good luck, everyone. Enjoy football. 3 straight days of championship caliber football. Very excited. And we'll be back Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Central. So until then, this has been the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth. See you guys.
See ya.
Step right up, dummies, and listen to the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth with Rodney Newbold and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah.